Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is another sponsored video. It is sponsored by Anonymous for Papa, and here's Papa's story. I would like to spread my story whenever and wherever possible because I believed for a long time that what I was going through was unique to me and that I was alone in my battle. Knowing that others are going through similar situations alongside me helps me strengthen my resolve. And I hope that by spreading my story, someone will be able to hear it and know that they too are not alone in their struggles. Early on, my ex-partner promised me everything I wanted to hear, adeptly fashioning herself into whatever appeared to be the perfect woman and best friend anyone could ever ask for. We connected instantly, could relate on every level, and quickly grew to a degree of apparent intimacy and happiness that I always craved. What I felt at the time like a genuine and spiritual connection was only a facade, however, and in my youth I foolishly believed her as she convinced me to propose to her, allowing me to joyfully celebrate her announcement of pregnancy. I didn't realize at that time that she was meticulously cutting me off from my friends and family, making my entire life about her. As time went on, what began as small arguments would become rage-induced assaults. Any attempt made by me to spend time or money on myself would be met with swift and severe admonishment, sometimes in the form of outright confrontation, but more often through more passive attacks where she would belittle and instigate me until I snapped back, the end result of which would always be my apologizing and trying to find some way to make things up to her. But she was tightening her hold over my life slowly, escalating her abuse gradually enough that it felt normal to me, which continued once our daughter was born. Having settled into fatherhood, my daily schedule involved my working a full 10-hour overnight shift, sleeping for only a couple hours each morning, and then being awakened by her as she went out the door for the day as I watched our daughter until she would arrive back home, usually shortly before the time for me to go back to work. Any attempt on my part to discuss the state of things would result in a bout of disproportionate rage involving in her screaming at me, striking me, and threatening to leave me and take our daughter somewhere she would be appreciated. I had become acclimated to that lifestyle, so it didn't occur to me at the time how damaging it may have been for our daughter, then only a year old, to be living in it. The state of affairs eventually drove me to depression, as she would spend money meant for our rent and utilities on ever-increasing amounts of drugs and alcohol, which she apparently needed to cope with my unhappiness. Even when I had taken extra care to do nothing to set her off and trigger an all-out attack, I still had to endure an unending stream of insults and humiliation. She would make sure to talk down to me and make me look foolish in front of any friends and family that would visit. And that environment had taken a hard toll on my state of mind. I took time off work and checked myself into our local hospital to try to get my head straightened out. And while I was admitted and my parents were watching our daughter, she spent our remaining money on hosting a party at our home as a farewell to it, and actively cheated on me with multiple partners, as photos that arose later would reveal. She moved into my parents' home for a short while after that, but having a momentary reprieve from her steady gaslighting gave me a small amount of clarity, which led to intense and violent outbursts from her. It was around this time that my mother died from an aneurysm in her brain, which devastated my family. We had recently moved into an apartment, but my ex-partner suggested that I start staying some nights with my dad to keep him company, which seemed perfectly reasonable since I was working from his house as a remote service technician at the time, and we were grieving the loss of his wife and my mother. I found out shortly afterwards, however, that my ex-partner wanted me to stay away from our apartment because she was regularly having other guys over to spend the night, who, when confronted about it, informed me that she was telling them that she was already single and that she was in fact the one earning all the money, and she's still actively spending on drug binges that would last days. She wasn't upset when I left her, so long as I continued supporting her, our daughter, and our habits. At this point, our daughter was around 18 months old. So in addition to the large portion of my checks each month I put towards my ex-partner's rent and utilities, I was also expected to pay for all her pull-ups, wipes, food, and clothes. No amount of money was ever enough, however, and despite chalking up her reason for needing so much money from me to the well-being of our daughter, my ex-partner kept her as little as possible. Any attempts to talk to her about this were met with hyperbolic outbursts, quickly escalating to the point that further discussion was impossible. If I asked her to watch our daughter, I was a deadbeat dad who wanted nothing to do with his family. After keeping our daughter for several weeks and trying to talk to her about the amounts of money she was demanding from me, the entire neighborhood would hear about how I was leaving the mother of my child to live in poverty with my unwanted child. During this time, I actually lost 2 consecutive jobs due to my ex-partner either dropping off our daughter on my father's front porch or not being home and refusing to answer her phone when I needed to work a shift. Upon losing my second job, realizing she would no longer be receiving money from me, she dropped off our daughter at my home and went on her way, at which point I would often go a month or 2 without hearing from her even once. Over the next year and a half, we would only occasionally hear from my ex-partner, but whenever she did appear, she would make sure to use her full weight as the mother of my child to bulldoze into our homes and lives as thoroughly as possible. She would even send visibly intoxicated strangers to my home to pick up our daughter, and when I didn't allow her to leave with people I didn't know, she would scream parental alienation. She would want to drive away with our daughter with no license, no car seat, no insurance, and became enraged when I would refuse, threatening to take our daughter out of state, that I would never see her again. For those years, she was claiming to our social service department that our daughter was living with her, and she was collecting both food stamps and in addition to her monthly living check under the guise of being a guardian. This was only brought to an end when she was incarcerated, at which point our Department of Social Services were finally given my address, where my daughter was actually staying. Only at this time did I discover that behind all those times, my ex-partner would arrive abruptly and demand our daughter at that very moment, only to bring her back the next day, were, in fact, lies to those social workers during home visits to make it appear as though our daughter was still living with her. After a long string of smaller offenses during that time, my ex-partner was finally charged with trafficking heroin, though she would only see a couple weeks of jail time by claiming that her daughter needed her. So much for equal sentencing, right? Any feminists want to jump in here? Talk about the sentencing disparities? Nah. Because guys who traffic in heroin and do this shit, you know, they get this kind they get this type of leeway. That they would be tearing apart a family and hurting a child. Her first stop, once she had posted bail, was to our home to try to talk me into getting an apartment with her. When I refused, she flew into a rage and informed me that she would find a new father for our daughter and that I would be lucky to even receive Christmas cards with pictures of her new family on them. Well, good luck. I mean, at this point, with her record, it doesn't even matter. At this point, I managed to pull together the funds and finally consult a lawyer to try to get her to meet up and come to some kind of mutual custody visitation agreement. She rejected the idea adamantly, disgusted with the prospect of being bound to a schedule and not having absolute authority over my father, and my daughter's lives. She continued to threaten to leave forever with our daughter if I even attempted to take her again. Again, with no car seat, no license, no insurance, but backed down when I decided that it was time to involve the police. Where is she getting a car from? How is she getting a car without all these things, without a license, insurance? With her outbursts becoming wilder, she was still actively involving our daughter, picking her up and using her as a shield while verbally assaulting me. My lawyer urged me to take our case to court. Yeah, I mean, with her record, there's no reason why she should have this type of leeway. Despite being served with court summonses by the sheriff's department, my ex-partner refused to be present, resulting in the judge awarding me full temporary custody. Good for you. The evidence I presented was a great deal more than was necessary, to the point where even the judge was perplexed that my ex-partner was still free to walk the streets. Right. Dude, when sometimes you got so much evidence, it doesn't matter. You're just going to overwhelm the court like this. So, like, you probably could have saved yourself years of aggravation. But, you know, it's a tough thing to do. Despite everything that had happened up until this point, the court still allows my ex-partner to visit our daughter under supervised conditions. As fucked up as she is, she still has rights. And as long as it's supervised, maybe one day she can turn her shit around and be a normal mother that your daughter needs. But, I mean, if she hasn't gotten to the point yet where she's lost all parental, as long as it's supervised and she can't go anywhere, you know, it's still the kid's mom. It's still your daughter's mom. She was able to visit our home with proper notice and my consent, and every other weekend she and her mother and our daughter's grandmother take our daughter for day trips as long as our daughter's grandmother is supervising. Despite these very lax conditions, my ex-partner regularly arrives unannounced, schedules visitations, and then cancels or simply never arrives, and actively tries to find ways to breach the court order. Well, she's a junkie and a narcissist. So not only does she want her way, she has erratic behavior. I mean, she just has erratic behavior because she's a goddamn junkie. I mean, has she cleaned herself up? I mean, no, because obviously not if she's still doing this shit. When she does actually arrive for visitation, she's often visibly inebriated to the point where she will pass out on our daughter's bed as she plays on her phone. Additionally, we regularly find new dents and cracked windows on my father's vehicles when she does decide to visit. But I since haven't physically seen her damaging our property. There's nothing we can do about it for now. During this time, although she has continued to actively sell drugs, prostitute, and even been charged with larceny of a motor vehicle, well, that would explain where she gets the cars, trafficking methamphetamine, and multiple further felonies, along with several strings of misdemeanors, she still puts on airs of being poor, abandoned mother just trying to get her daughter back so she can live a happy life. As she proves time and time again that everything I brought against her is true and valid, she continues to threaten to take our daughter from her home while actively slandering me to my friends, my family, and to her own family. I am no longer able to supervise visits at my own home because while she will spend a few visits staying calm and visiting with our daughter, she quickly starts instigating fights and manipulating our daughter, now nearly 4 years old, into believing I'm trying to keep them apart when I don't allow her to start staying the night at my ex-partner's hotel room. Visits out in public are terrible as well because she performs the best with an audience. At the very least, her outbursts exclude our daughter when there are other witnesses. Despite having made it this far, this battle is still going to be long fought. But I want to get my story out there so that others in positions like mine know that they aren't alone and that this thing can be done. Thank you for your time. Well, look, you got a piece of work there you ended up with. I mean, my question to you is, how does she this out of fucking control and you had no clue? I mean, this is some pretty wild shit. And yeah, I understand you're working a night shift. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to know a little bit more about your background to explain all this, because this is a lot of burying your head in the sand for it to have gotten this far. However, I'm glad that you finally did go to court and get. I don't know why you're still letting her walk all over you like this. I would be recording every visit she's at your house and showing it to the judge. Because if she's still showing up inebriated, then that's bad. If she's showing up fucked up and wasted, and then that's really bad. Then, look, you don't know. She's a junkie. I mean, how much control does the grandmother, not even the mother, the grandmother, have over her? That's bad news. I mean, that's bad. That's bad news. So I would try to record some of these outbursts in the house whenever she's there. I would have a GoPro set up or just a cell phone set up somewhere recording. Okay, just so no because you're going to keep making accusations. That's what they do. That's what they do. So you need to protect yourself. And you need to pull your head out of the goddamn sand and stand up. You've done okay, but you're lucky. I mean, you're really lucky. For the type of shit this chick that this chick has pulled, you're lucky she didn't kill somebody, kill your daughter, hurt somebody. You're lucky you're in the position you're in. Not many of us end up in the position you're in. So consider yourself fortunate that you're the responsible parent and you got custody. So that's good on that. But you have to fight. You can't be passive. You can't have this passivity anymore. Your daughter's 4. Okay, she's absorbing all of this shit. She's going to learn all her conflict resolution skills, all of it from you. She's watching you. You have to show her how to stand up the right way for yourself and not to let somebody like her mother bully you. Doesn't mean she doesn't love her mother and you have to badmouth her, but her mother is still obviously sick and a problem. And you're not doing everything you need to do to protect yourself. You're not. Okay, it seems like you're kind of just hoping it goes, everything got to be forced into. Listen, this is crucial. She's 4 years old. Because understand something, Papa. The court is always going to be looking for a way to give the child back to the mother. Always. If there is any way possible. Now, this chick is such a train wreck, that's not going to happen anytime soon, but it could in the future. And you better make it clear. You don't want her to be able to regain custody because of something you didn't document. Or something she was able to twist against you. Some lie of assault or God for who knows what. You don't want that to happen. So take my advice on that as well. So thank you to Anonymous for the sponsoring, and thank you, Papa, for the story. I really appreciate it. I hope this helped. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comments section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype chat, phone call, have a private video made, a Facebook chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video just like this one for someone who can't afford one, or just sponsor the channel in general, which is always awesome. You know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. And if you're still unclear, the instructional video link pops up on the screen at the end of this video to walk you through all of that. Please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance.